We do a lot of different research projects at the Environmental Working Group on a wide range of topics. But tonight, I want to talk to you about one specific project involving 10 Americans. 10 Americans who have really been instrumental in inspiring what we consider to be one of the most important environmental campaigns in history. One day, we collected a sample of blood from each of these 10 Americans, and we sent it to a laboratory to analyze it for 413 different toxic chemical pollutants, pesticides and industrial chemicals alike. Of course, scientists have been studying pollution in air, in water, and land for decades. But it's only recently that they turned to the study of pollution in people, and that's what this project was designed also to do. These 10 Americans weren't farm workers, they weren't factory workers. And when the results came back from the laboratory, we had found 287 chemicals in just those 10 people, an average of 200 chemicals in each one. When you look at the chemicals by category, it's kind of astonishing. 28 different waste byproducts, dioxins, furans, things that come out of incinerators, smokestacks. 47 different consumer product ingredients, the flame retardants in these lights and this projector, Teflon chemicals, Scotchgard chemicals, pesticides. But for my money, most disturbing of all, we found 212 industrial chemicals and pesticide breakdown products that had been banned 30 years before we took those blood samples and sent them to the lab in 2004. Who were these 10 Americans? How were they exposed? Well, the truth of the matter is we don't really know very much about these 10 people. About the only thing we know is that as the exposures took place, all of them looked something like this. This was the first time anyone had ever bothered since the beginning of the chemical revolution to examine umbilical cord blood to see how many toxic chemicals got through to the developing child. Here's another view. This baby is receiving about 300 quarts of blood circulating to him from the mother every day. The nutrients that are allowing the baby to grow, the oxygen that's allowing the baby to breathe. This baby, like all babies at that age, does not have a blood-brain barrier. That means that the tissues of the brain, the cells of the brain, are not protected as they will be in later life, just a few months from now really, to protect him from the chemicals that would pass into those tissues and those cells. Industrial pollution begins in the womb. 134 of these chemicals had been shown to cause cancer in laboratory studies or in people. 151 associated with causing birth defects. 154 caused hormone disruption. Infertility, 186 different chemicals. Immune system toxicants, 130. Neurotoxins like lead, PCBs, mercury, that we know can have profound effects on the developing child, profound effects on their intelligence, profound effects on their motor coordination. The combined evidence suggests that neurodevelopmental disorders caused by industrial chemicals has created a silent pandemic in modern society. So what does the chemical industry say? That there's no reason to worry. Why? Because the chemicals are safe, because the doses are so low. Parts per billion. Low doses matter. For 30 parts per billion, we can inspire human reproduction. For 0.035 parts per billion, we can prevent it. And for another 30 parts per billion, we can chill out about it either way. The exposures happen. Industry is allowed to sell these chemicals, use them in the marketplace, and we have to wonder, after decades of these exposures, what the problems that they're causing might just be. There are increases in diseases, disorders, health problems that we cannot explain by genetics alone. We're not evolving so quickly that these problems can be explained. An 84% increase in acute lymphocytic leukemia in children between 1975 and 2002. Hypospadias has doubled over roughly that same period. This is a birth defect, a deformation of the penis, where the urethra doesn't come out at the end, but somewhere else along the shaft, and it requires surgery often within days or months of birth. That now affects 1 out of 125 baby boys in the United States. Chemicals are implicated. A 57% increase in childhood brain cancer. Autism, the great mystery, the great tragedy. 1 in 150 children on the autism spectrum disorder. 1 in 150 children. In some states where we have more robust data, it's approaching 1%. It's not just the kids, it's adults too. Millions of couples struggle with getting pregnant or carrying a pregnancy to full term. A dramatic increase of 20% in those problems in the past decade. The biggest increase has been with women of childbearing age under 25 years old. Decreased sperm count in men, about 1% per year in the United States and Northern Europe. Breast cancer. Does anyone here not know a person, a family that has been touched by this disease now? 1 in 8 women. And for all cancers, 1 in 3 women will develop them during their lifetime, and half of all men. So what can you do? All these chemicals, all these exposures. Chemicals are showing up on the front page of newspapers for the same reason that they're showing up in babies. A very weak law that was passed a long time ago and has never since been modernized. It's the Toxic Substances Control Act, and my message to you tonight is we need to fix this thing. The Toxic Substances Control Act grandfathered in 62,000 industrial chemicals in 1976 and presumed that they were safe. The law does not require any health or safety studies before a new chemical is allowed onto the market. None. Of the chemicals that come to EPA for approval, 80% are approved within just 3 weeks. And in the history of TSCA, as it's called, only 5 chemicals, only 5 have been banned or restricted. This law is so weak that when the first Bush administration tried to ban asbestos, it was challenged in court and lost. This is a law that protects polluters. It protects companies. It protects profits. And what we need is a law that protects people and public health. This is another image of my baby, Callahan Cook. He's about 2 weeks old. When I look into his face, I see every hope for a healthy future. I know that when he came into the world, like all American babies, he did have some toxic chemicals in him for all our best efforts. But my hope is that going forward, we can do better, and we have to do better. We can protect babies and the rest of us from these toxic chemicals if we just make it our business to do so. Yes, be smarter when you shop. We owe it to our kids, we owe it to ourselves to protect them so that no baby is born into this world pre-polluted in the future.